Hello everyone, Cindy here with Monarch Mom DIY. So excited to be bringing you these 5 fall DIYs today, made mostly with items found at the Dollar Tree. For our first project, we're going to use one of these signs from Dollar Tree, as well as a foam pumpkin, some raffia, some leaves, and a stencil from Magnolia. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape to remove the glitter from the front of this sign after spritzing some water on it. I am going to paint this side, but we're going to end up having this be the back of our sign, and then we're going to put our design on the back side, making that the front. So once we wipe off the excess of the glitter, I'm going to take some painter's tape off the top and bottom sections here, and then we're going to give this a couple coats of our Waverly chalk paint in the color Moss. We're going to do the same thing to the back side, and then I'm going to use my antique wax and darken up the strips at the top and the bottom. Next, I'm going to take one of these foam pumpkins from Dollar Tree. I cut it in half. You can see that I had painted this white first, and then now I'm going to give it a coat of Waverly chalk paint in the color pumpkin. Coming back to our sign now, I'm going to take this beaded garland. I got this here at Dollar Tree. It has these metal leaves kind of glued to the string every once in a while. I'm just going to use some of the beads here, and we're going to count out. It looks like we've got 4 natural, then an orange one, then a bunch of natural, an orange, and then we'll take 4 natural there. So we're going to make this its own separate little beaded strand here, so we can add this as a hanger to our sign. Then coming in here with our staple gun, I'm going to put a couple staples in the end of the string there, having the knot kind of resting on top of the wood there with our beads going around. Next, I'm going to take this 5x7 stencil from monarchmomdiy.com that says Hello Pumpkin. I'm going to use almond latte chalk paste and just do the words from this stencil onto our sign. Now coming back to our pumpkin, I'm going to take my walnut stain Tim Holtz Distressing Ink, and I'm just going to rub it a little bit onto our pumpkin to grunge it up a little bit, give it a little bit more of that farmhouse look and a little bit more texture. Once that's dry, we're going to take some hot glue on our cut half side here, and we're going to glue this down to our sign, leaving a little bit of space at the bottom. Next, taking some of this raffia or excelsior grass, I'm going to try and get some pieces together and tie them in the middle. I'm just going to add some of this for hay under our pumpkin. Once that's glued on there and trimmed up, I'm going to take a couple of faux leaves, 2 or 3, and glue them up here at the top. And then I have this little piece of stem that we're going to glue on as well for the stem of our pumpkin. Then taking a few more strands of raffia, I'm going to tie a small little bow that we're going to glue onto our pumpkin stem to finish off this project. And here's our finished DIY number 1. I hope this gives you some ideas of what you can do using just a few items from Dollar Tree to make something unique. For DIY number 2, we're going to use this wood charger plate I got at a thrift store, one of these words, some paint, and this napkin. So this is a wood charger plate that I got at a thrift store for a couple of dollars. You can definitely do this project with any of the plates or plastic chargers from Dollar Tree as well. I'm going to go ahead and paint the entire top side of this plate with my Waverly chalk paint in the color Ivory. Then once that paint is dry, we're just going to smooth that out a little bit with our 400 grit sandpaper. And I'm also going to go a little bit around the edges to give some distressing to our plate as well. Next, I'm going to take one of these napkins from Hobby Lobby. It's so beautiful. I love it with the sunflowers and the pumpkins. And I'm going to press it down into the bottom part of our plate and kind of make a form of it with my thumbnail so that I can then flip it over and cut out a circle that's pretty much going to fit inside the middle of the plate. Then once we have the circle cut out, we're going to use some tape to separate the back 2 layers from the front layer of the napkin that we're actually going to use for this project. And I think that turned out pretty good to fit right inside the inside circle of our plate. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of Mod Podge. We're just going to brush this on as evenly as possible on the center part of our plate. And then I'm just going to mist a tiny little bit of water on the back of the napkin and then place it down to adhere it to the Mod Podge. Now you have lots of options of what you could put inside this plate with the napkin on it. You could put a pumpkin or some sort of shape. You can put any words. This was from last year, I believe, at Dollar Tree. It's a faux leather word, grateful, but there's lots of options at Dollar Tree and other craft stores for words, whether wood or metal or these faux leather that you can add to the center of your plate. I'm giving this one a coat of Waverly chalk paint in the color Celery. Now to give a little bit more of a farmhouse look to our plate and to also cover up possibly any imperfections between the plate and the napkin, maybe if it was a little off center, I'm going to use this thicker jute twine from Walmart, and I'm just going to take one strand of it and we're going to hot glue it all the way around the circle just to kind of be the connection between the napkin and the top part of the plate. Then once the paint has dried, we're going to put a little bit of hot glue on the back of our word and stick this down to the center of our plate. I love how I can take a pretty napkin, some paint, and a little word and just change this thrifted charger plate to a beautiful piece of decor. For DIY number 3, we're going to take this thrift store frame, this wood truck and wood word from Dollar Tree, and some burlap fabric. We're going to give this little $3 picture frame a makeover for fall. So first we're going to just go ahead and remove the backing from the frame, and I am able to just peel off this piece of burlap that was attached here. I'm going to take some of my own and kind of match it up, cut a size that I know is going to be big enough to cover the backing. So then we're going to take some Mod Podge and we're going to brush it on the backing of this board here, get it as nice and evenly distributed as possible, and then we're going to lay down our new piece of burlap and press it down until it's dried. Next, coming to our little fall truck sign here from Dollar Tree, I noticed that a couple of these three-dimensional pieces were loose enough that I could possibly get them off. This is not a necessary step. And of course, only 2 of the 3 pieces were able to be removed, but this is just going to let me paint the truck a little bit quicker. You, of course, do not need to remove these pieces because you do run the risk of them breaking when you're taking them off. So I'm just going to take some Waverly paint here. I'm going to color the little pumpkins or paint the little pumpkins in the back with my orange chalk paint. I am going to paint my truck with agave, and then I'm going to use antique wax on the railings for the back and on the 2 wheel wells. And I'm also going to paint the tires with black. Next, using some wood glue, we're going to go ahead and glue the 1 piece back on, actually the 2 pieces, this front wheel well and the railing for the back of the truck. I decided to take my mini sander and just distress the agave paint a little bit, try to give a little bit more of a worn look to our farmhouse truck. Coming back to our board, now that the burlap is dried, glued onto the board, we're going to just trim around the edges of our burlap. Then taking our frame, we're going to pop that burlap covered board back into the back of our frame, pressing down the little clips. So now it's all ready to go to add our truck to the front. The last thing we need to paint is this little wood word, "Give Thanks," from Dollar Tree. I had originally stained it with antique wax, but I need something a little bit lighter for this project. So we're just going to paint over that with our ivory chalk paint. And before gluing my truck down, I decided I wanted to add a little bit of hay in the back of the truck with the pumpkins, just to add a little bit more texture and dimension. So I'm just going to take some of those cut pieces and glue them down and then trim away any pieces that aren't glued down. Then just adding a little bit of hot glue on either side of our frame. We're just going to glue our truck down here to the bottom portion of our frame. Then adding some glue to a couple places on our wood word, we're going to stick that down in the top left corner of our burlap piece there to go along with our truck. And that is all we're going to do to this cute little truck. Again, just another simple project you can make just using a couple of items from Dollar Tree and a thrift store picture frame. For DIY number 4, we're going to make some cute little standing pumpkins with these wood slices, a couple napkins and stencils, and some of these wood sticks from Hobby Lobby. So I'm going to take 2 packs of these wood slices. 2 of the pumpkins I'm going to paint with our pumpkin orange Waverly chalk paint in the middle, and the other 2 I'm going to paint with ivory. Now on this pumpkin that I painted orange, I'm putting Mod Podge and then spritzing a little bit of water on the back of this piece of napkin from Hobby Lobby that's orange and has these gold leaves and pumpkins on them. And then on the ivory wood slice that I painted all the way to the edges as well, I'm going to add some Mod Podge and glue down one piece of this leaf napkin. Then once our napkins are dry, I'm going to use my mini sander and we're going to sand around the edges of the napkin to remove the excess from the wood slice. So too many pumpkins we made with the napkins. The other 2, we're going to stencil one of my small little fall mini stencils from Magnolia. And I'm going to do Happy Harvest on the orange one and Fall in Love on the ivory one. So I'm going to use some Magnolia green chalk paste for the leaves on both of these little pumpkins. And then we're going to use Almond Latte for the words Happy Harvest. And then here on Fall in Love, we're going to use Glittering Copper. Next, I'm taking basically a imitation Jenga block, some sort of wood piece. You could make a little base with actual tumbling tower blocks. I am hot gluing the wood slice pumpkin to that base, and then I'm putting one of the little wood cubes behind just as reinforcement, gluing it to both the back of the wood slice and the top of the wood strip there that we're using as a base for each of these pumpkins. Now that our wood slice pumpkins are glued to their base, I'm going to take a piece of these little sticks, which were from Hobby Lobby in their Christmas crafts, and I'm going to glue this to the top to be the little stem for each of our mini pumpkins. Once we have the stems on, I'm going to take some smaller faux leaves from Dollar Tree and glue 1 or 2 to the top of each of our pumpkins as well. The last thing I'm going to add to each of our wood slice pumpkins is I'm going to take a double length of jute twine here, and I'm just going to tie a simple bow that I'm going to glue to the stem of each of my pumpkins. And here are our 4 cute little wood slice pumpkins. I think these are so adorable, and you could definitely make these a lot of different ways. For DIY number 5, we're going to take an image from a Dollar Tree calendar, some rickrack, some antique wax, and this canvas. Now, we're going to make what's called a reverse canvas. I just happened to get this one at a thrift store for $1. It was a donation to the thrift store. This is what I find is the easiest way to remove the canvas from the frame is to take your razor blade or your little knife here and cut along the outside of the staples all the way around, and then you're going to be able to just peel that canvas off in one piece. Now you would probably be fine gluing this back down with all these staples in it, but I want mine to be as flat as possible, so I'm going to use my staple remover and get all those staples out as well as the rest of the canvas. Then taking my antique wax and a baby wipe, I'm going to take the wood frame that was hidden underneath the canvas, and we're going to stain this a nice dark color. Now coming back to our piece of canvas, I'm going to trim off the pieces that were kind of wrapped around the sides. You'll be able to see the lines there. Just going to trim this up so it's a little bit closer to the size of the frame. Next, on the back side of the canvas fabric, so this is the shiny side, non-plasticky side. This was inside the frame. We're going to take our Mod Podge and we're going to apply a layer, a pretty good layer to it on this back side, covering it completely, and then we're going to let it dry. Now this calendar happens to be from 2022, but it has a really cute truck image. I love that this image fills up the whole page, but any of the calendars at Dollar Tree will work for this. You don't even have to make it a fall theme. You can use this idea any time of the year. Now I'm going to line my calendar page up on my canvas that has the dried Mod Podge. Then I am putting a piece of parchment paper over, and I'm going to iron on top of that. The heat from the iron is going to reactivate the Mod Podge, and it's going to grab onto the calendar image. Now you'll see I'm doing this on an ironing board, and I didn't like that it wasn't solidly flat. So I'm going to move that here in a minute, and I'm going to finish my ironing right on my desktop. Now, once that was dried and cooled off, I am taking more Mod Podge and putting it over the top, mostly because this image was very shiny and I wanted to kind of matte it down a little bit with this matte finish Mod Podge, and just to make sure that our calendar image is going to stay stuck down to our canvas. Once that Mod Podge on top was dry, I'm going to take my hot glue gun and I'm going to take a bead of hot glue all the way around the outer edge now of my canvas. And we're going to glue the wooden frame that we've stained right on top of our image here. I just think this is so pretty, and just to think that it came just from a canvas that we're now making into a reverse canvas. Now you could definitely stop there, but I decided I wanted to add a little bit of rickrack in the dark green color and also like the burnt orange color. I didn't have enough of the green to go all the way around, so I'm actually going to do the green on two sides and the orange on the other two sides. I just think this adds a little bit more fun and color into our project. And here's our finished project with the reverse canvas, with the calendar image, and the rickrack going around the frame. Thanks again so much for joining me today on my channel. I'd love to know in the comments which of these projects was your favorite, which one you liked the most and want to make on your own. Again, if you are stopping by my channel for the first time, I hope that you will subscribe, hit that bell, set your notifications to all, and then choose one of these videos to continue watching some of my 5 years worth of DIY videos. Everybody have a great night and take care.